So for this first video, I'm going to go over basic drawing techniques and also basic Flash keystrokes just for making frames and advancing frames so that you can do just a general drawing and a general animation. So key things to note about the screen here, you have a layer up here. This is your timeline. Right now we only have one frame. If I wanted to add multiple frames, I'd press F6 and it will just keep adding frames. If I want to undo something that I've done, I'll press Control Z and you'll see it'll back up. Makes life easy. I can also manipulate backwards and forwards through frames by using the comma key and the period key on your keyboard, which if you look at them conveniently, they actually have the greater than and less than sign, and they're basically standing in as arrows. That's the general gist of what those do. And so we'll sit here and we'll look at our very first frame here, which of course is blank because I've drawn nothing. So in general, when you're drawing, select a color, something that's worthwhile sketching with or building at your rough shape, and you'll see my mouse is moving around here. And it becomes, much more fluid for you. When you have the brush tool on, you get these options down here. One is brush size, and right now my brush size is set at level 2, which is fine. Brush shape, of course you can change your general brush shape. I'm going to stick with a circle though for this. This is for pressure, if you want to make use of pressure, and if you're using a drawing tablet, it's worthwhile to use the pressure tab. And then you get this option up here, which is unusual. You get this thing said paint normal, paint fills, paint behind, paint selection, paint inside. The ones that you guys are going to use all the time is paint normal, and then you're also going to get paint behind. The other tool you need to know when you're doing this sort of flash animation is you need to know the paint bucket tool. So that would be right here. When I press paint bucket, I get another set of options down here. These changed. It's important to notice that I can choose the gap size that it will fill. Will it close large gaps, medium gaps, small gaps, or does the actual shape need to be completely closed before it does anything? I like to use it on either small gaps or medium gaps for most of the work I do because I'm not that precise in what I'm drawing, and there's no expectation that you're going to be there necessarily either. So I'm going to turn the brush tool on. And I'm just going to draw in the rough shape for an eyeball. And it'll be really rough. It's just going to be 4 lines. Here's the top of the eyeball. I'm going to draw in, of course, the bottom shape. And I'll leave a gap over here. And then I'm just going to add in on one side the general location of that side of the eye. I'll add that one in. And there you go. I've got an eyeball drawn in. If I really want to get specific, I can add in just a pupil, one of those like anime type pupils, and I'll use the paint bucket to fill it in. There you go. I've got a rough shape of an eyeball drawn in. Now one thing to notice is that when I drew this, I drew it on the 3rd frame. So if I use my arrow keys, that is the greater than less than keys, you'll notice that when I go back, the eyeball disappears. It's not there. It only exists on the 3rd frame. And that really is a key thing for you guys to understand as you're doing your drawings. It's frame by frame, so you have to draw each frame individually. Now in the beginning it sounds very daunting and you'll be like, oh my god, I can't do this, it's too much. Actually, there's a few tools in here that will help you do these things, not to mention copying and pasting, that will allow you to do these things fairly easily. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate the frame to add it out here. So my eyeball is going to be sitting here and nothing's going to be changing on my eyeball. So I'll just duplicate it by hitting F6. And what you'll notice is that when I hit F6, up here these frames will be duplicated. And in each frame is the same drawing I've already done. So it's actually easy for me to draw out, my animation. And as you can see as I'm cycling through here, nothing is changing. Everything's already well set up for me, and that's good. But now, the next thing I want to do is I want this eye to animate, and I want the eye just to close and then open again. So I'm going to do this fairly quickly. I'm going to go back to my brush tool. The next frame I'm going to make is going to be blank, so I'll press F7 instead. And so I get a brand new frame, and there's nothing in it. And you'll see it if I cycle back. There's the eyeball. Eyeball's gone. So I'm going to need to draw another section of the eyeball. But I have to be able to see where it was before, otherwise it's going to be jumping around on me. So what I need to do is I need to turn on onion skinning. So right over here, there's this button here. I'll turn on onion skinning. And what you'll see is I can see the earlier frame. It's not as strong. Like if I cycle back, that's how it is when it's on the actual frame. On this frame, it's there, but it's not really there. And this is a useful tool for me because I'm gonna use my brush and I'm going to literally trace in the bottom of the eyeball again. But I'm going to start to draw the eyelid closed. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being, roughly in the right direction, because it's the style of the animation we're drawing in. And there's the pupil, and I'll use the K button again, and I'll fill it in. Okay, and so if I move back, you'll see my eyeball starts to close. I'll press F7 again, and I'll get another blank screen. But the nice thing is I can still see where the eye is, and I can still really draw in the rough shape of my eye, including the bottom of the pupil, and literally I'm just tracing here. And then I will press F7 again. I'll get another blank frame, and I'll go to B. And this time I'm literally just going to draw the eye closed. No real fancy aspect to this. There you go. The eyeball is closed. So now if I cycle back, you'll see it looks like my eyeball is closing. And really, I'll turn off the onion skin here for a moment just so I can really examine what it looks like. So eyeball's open, eye begins to close, eye closes, and there you go. I've drawn a really basic animation that I can see. But it would be nice if I don't have to redraw everything, because as you can see, as I cycle backwards and forwards, it looks like the eye is closing and then opening. So the best thing for me to do would actually be just to copy frames. So I'm going to do that. I will select that frame. I need to right click on it, and you'll see that I get copy frame. So I will come over to this frame here, and I will right click again, and I will paste my frame in. And so then I will back up again to this frame, and I will copy the frame, and I will come back over here, and I will right click again, and I will paste the frame. And then finally I'm going to go back to the spot where it was wide open, and I will right click on that frame, and I will copy it, and I will come back over here, and I will paste my frame in. So now it'd be really nice to see how this animation looks. Well, first of all, we got to remember these first two frames, there's nothing in them. We need to get rid of them. So what you need to be able to do in order to get rid of a frame, because you're frustrated with it, is actually to remove the frame. And then you'll see things bump back. So you have to really get used to the whole aspect of how Flash calls things. So very quickly now, you'll see I'm going to cycle through my animation one frame at a time. My eyeball goes down, my eyeball opens. But really what I want to be able to do is to see this play back. So the key that makes this work here is return. I'll press return. The animation plays through, and you can see it. And I'll just have to keep pressing enter every time. Or I can press Control, enter, and it opens a brand new little window, and you can watch your animation happen before your eyes. And it'll just keep going over and over and over again, and which is a useful tool because then it allows you to examine the whole animation and see it. So honestly, that's the first thing we're going to do with Flash. You just need to practice your basic drawing techniques using onion skinning and start using some of your basic Flash keystrokes, that being F6 and F7 and enter when you want to play it, and be ready to right click on frames when you want to get rid of them. Also, we've gone over basic copying and pasting in frames so you can create a repeating pattern and really make life easy on yourself. Next time around, we'll look at what really is in the Flash screen beyond what I've already shown you right now, and how you manipulate things and change things. And that is about it for now.